Thank you, Commissioner. The next meeting on the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management, which will be chaired by Vice Chair Jeff Linford. Vice Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today's meeting of the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management is being held in public session. The committee also met in executive session earlier today to discuss matters involving ongoing negotiations or reviews of contracts or proposals. At this point, I ask the Secretary to advise those present of the composition of the committee and any commissioner recusals on the item before the committee.
The Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management is composed of Vice Chairman Linford, the committee chair, Chairman O'Toole, the committee vice chair, and Commissioners Helmy, LaBarbera, and Rosado. All committee members are present with the exception of Commissioner Rosado. Also present are Commissioners Bolwage, Cohen, Eve, Fisher, Kelly, McCabe, and Richardson. There are no recusals required.
Thank you. I call on our Chief Development Officer, Derek Utter, to present the capital performance results for the 9 months of 2023. Thank you, Derek. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm here today to provide a review of the first 9 months of capital plan results. Spending was $1.539 billion, which is slightly lower than the first 9 months of 2022, represented 80% of our planned spending, and this reflects careful management of capital spending as we've emerged from the tightness of COVID. I want to highlight, though, it does reflect robust spending on our aviation projects, including our major redevelopment projects at Newark, LaGuardia, and JFK. Just a few notes, we opened a new construction support facility at JFK, which consolidates the concrete production and transport of debris and materials. And at Newark Terminal A, we opened 5 gates and 2 passenger lounges. This also represents 84% of the planned schedule milestones on target. We did 2 ahead of schedule, which I'll go into in just a second. So in terms of spending relative to plan, we measure our spending relative to plan because we want to make sure that we are executing on projects and making sure that we get things done. We typically spend, as you can see historically, less than our plan, and in the 80 to 90% range. In the first 9 months, we were at 90%, or 80% rather. We target at least 90%, and so we're trying to pick that number up. I think we'll end up the year between 80 and 90%. The underspending is largely driven by timing of payments in this case, contingencies, which were not fully spent, or retainage. And in one case, we had a milestone payment that was paid at December of last year, and so it actually wasn't paid this year. So you should take away from this that we are still progressing our major projects effectively on plan, as we had expected to. Turning to on-time results, we hit 68 of 81 planned milestone dates on schedule. This is 84%, and again, we aspire to hit at least 90%, which we've done the last couple of years, absent the proactive slowdown in 2020. We've hit about 90% in the last several years. Of the 13 missed milestones, 7 were related to construction dates, and 6 were related to contract award dates. They tend to be things like supply chain issues from COVID, which are still working through the system. Maybe the issue happened last year, and the milestone date was this year. In one case, we had an unforeseen site condition, and in another case, we needed to rebid a procurement because we didn't get enough bids. So these are issues that we study carefully. Actually, every missed milestone we dissect and try to make sure that we can learn from it so that we take those lessons learned and we apply them to the projects that are currently in the plan. To give you a sense of some of the projects that completed, we have a list of contract awards and projects put into beneficial use. This gives you a sense of the types of projects, the bread and butter that we do. A lot of them are state of good repair projects. I want to highlight the Performing Arts Center, which is the third one on the right, since that opened last month and is just really an amazing new addition to the World Trade Center site. Really helps to, as we've talked about many times, and there have been many articles written about it, a major part of completing the World Trade Center site. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Hearing no questions, thank you, Derek. Do any commissioners have any further comments? Okay, this concludes today's meeting of the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management. I turn it back to our chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Good afternoon. The board meeting of the Port